Screenshot Associated Press. Politico has a long and painful read about rural Americans in the agriculture industry realizing that when he spoke during the campaign about trade deals, Donald Trump had no idea what he was talking about. The decision to pull out of the trade deal has become a double hit on places like Eagle Grove. The promised bump of $10 billion in agricultural output over 15 years, based on estimates by the U.S. International Trade Commission, won't materialize. But Trump's decision to withdraw from the pact also cleared the way for rival exporters such as Australia, New Zealand and the European Union to negotiate even lower tariffs with importing nations, creating potentially greater competitive advantages over U.S. exports. No kidding. For all the criticisms one could aim at the Trans-Pacific Partnership, it was still a good-faith effort to manage America's place in the world's trade and open some lucrative foreign markets to the nation's exports. Then Donald Trump came along and started hollering that it was a terrible deal without offering details as to why he thought so. Now that he is in office, Trump and the supporters who bought his line on the TPP are realizing that the rest of the world isn't interested in individual bilateral deals with the United States. They would rather forge ahead without us instead. And those American businesses that were counting on Trump improving on what was already a pretty decent deal find they are going to get completely left behind. For his part, Trump once promised a slew of beautiful deals to replace the TPP, but his administration has yet to lay out a detailed strategy. U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer told lawmakers that an analysis is underway to determine where it makes most sense to pursue negotiations. Oh, okay. Take your time. In the meantime, Lighthizer, a trade attorney who pressured Japan to voluntarily restrain its steel exports when he was a trade official in the 1980s, said Tokyo should just go ahead and lower their tariffs without expecting anything in return. I think in the areas like beef and the others, they ought to be making some unilateral concessions, at least temporary concessions, he told lawmakers in June. And I don't quite understand why that doesn't happen, because Japan doesn't need the U.S. nearly as much as the administration's nationalists believe they do, because the other nations of the world don't respond to bullying. Just guessing. The Politico report continues. The value of the TPP for many countries was that they could justify giving up protective tariffs in exchange for their own access to the markets of a wide pool of countries. Many are unwilling to make such concessions for the smaller gains of a bilateral deal. I mean, this is just common sense. Unfortunately for the people who only heard Trump say, "These are terrible deals and I will make better ones," reality is settling in that they have invested lots of money in their businesses in anticipation of the TPP's beneficial effects, only to realize now those effects may have just evaporated. He was disappointed Trump kind of broadly wiped out TPP before there was even a discussion, Swanson said. But that's what he promised to do for months. Pulling out of the TPP was one of his day one promises, along with repealing Obamacare, starting construction of the wall, and whatever else he would say in speeches to get people to vote for him. It's fine to have voted for him in the hope that it was just campaign talk, but you are taking a chance that it wasn't. And this wasn't. This kind of talk didn't help the Trans-Pacific Partnership is another disaster done and pushed by special interests who want to rape our country, just a continuing rape of our country, Trump said during a campaign stop in Ohio. That's what it is, too. It's a harsh word. It's a rape of our country. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. The bottom line is this: businesses and trade depend on stability in their markets, and the rural states that rely on agricultural exports voted for a president whose entire campaign was premised on being the proverbial ball in a china shop, wrecking the Republican Party and every governing norm the U.S. has built up over 200 years. To have expected him to change when he got into office, to expect that he would settle down and make the deals he promised, was always a fool's errand. Unfortunately, those rural voters will also be the first ones to pay the price. And thanks to Trump's trade policies, they can't even count on cheap booze to drown their sorrows. This is a commentary piece. The views expressed in this article are those of just the author.